may the noble triple gem Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha bless you all. Now, today is the second Dhamma discussion of our third series, where I explain the path to Sotapanna, the first level of enlightenment, as per Dhammachaka Sutra, the first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered to the Panchavagya Bhikkhu after attaining Buddhahood. And also I'm quoting information from Sotapanna Sutra, Gihi Sutra, Dveda Vitakka Sutra, Vitakka Santana Sutra, and Ratana Sutra, and few other sutras as well as I go on. The series will be about 10 sessions. And in the last session, I will explain how to do this in practice, how to follow the path in practice. Now, all the sutras I have taken from the oldest Tripitaka in the world, which is now kept at the British Library in London, which happens to be about 18 miles from our vihara. Apart from during the winter, I visit the library once a week and read the Tripitaka. So all the information I have taken from that Tripitaka. That Tripitaka is over 2,100 years old, and it has been written down at Alulena Rajamaha Vihara in Kegol district in Sri Lanka. It's written in Sinhala, using Sinhala alphabet, the Sri Lankan letters, and Magadhi language. Magadhi language was the language that Lord Buddha used to preach Buddha Dhamma. And later it was slightly changed by a Brahmin priest who came to Sri Lanka by the name of Buddha Ghosha. And he changed it and he made a language called Pali. But Pali is about 99% of Magadhi. He didn't change the words. What he did was change the meanings. It's a fairly long story. If anyone likes to know the full story, please question me during question time. After 1 hour of Dhamma sermon, I give 2 hours to ask questions. So the information that Tripitaka has been written down 456 years after Lord Buddha passed away. So that makes it over 2,100 years old. Now the information that I'll be quoting from the Tripitaka might slightly differ from what you have heard already. And if that is the case, please don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. Just practice the principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama Sutra. In Kalama Sutra, Lord Buddha said, don't either believe or disbelieve me. Just listen to all this information carefully, take it home, analyze it, go through it over and over again using your intelligence and wisdom. And at the end of the day, if you think it's correct, you can take it, practice it, and get results very quickly. On the other hand, if you think it's wrong, just leave it out and carry on with whatever you were doing before, but don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments. So I make that kind request from all of you to practice the same principle. Now, before we start the Dhamma discussion, always we observe Panchasila and meditate for 5 minutes to get everyone in the mood for the Dhamma discussion. So let's start with observing Panchasila. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapama dattana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to recite these three gathas. If you know them, please do recite them with me. Sabbapa passakaranang kusalassa upasampada sachitta pariyodapanang etang buddha anusasanang sabbe sankara anicchati yada panyaya passati atanibbindati dukkhe esamaggo visuddhiya anicchavata sankara uppadavaya dhammino uppajjitva nirujjanti te sangupasamosukho. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to meditate for 5 minutes. Can you all please sit comfortably against the wall if you like? You can lean against the wall. Sit either on a chair or on a cushion or on the floor. Keep your back straight. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and let it out very slowly. Please repeat that 3 times. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, please repeat these Karmasthana meditation sentences after me. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the 4 noble truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. Let's repeat once more. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the Four Noble Truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, please repeat those Karmasthana meditation sentences in your mind for 3 minutes, please. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, can you please take a deep breath and let it out very slowly? Can you please repeat that 3 times? Now you can slowly open your eyes, sit comfortably, and get ready to listen to the Dhamma discussion. I will deliver the Dhamma discussion for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. Then I'll give you 2 hours to ask any questions. Now, before I start on the Dhammachaka Sutra, I just want to quickly recap what we discussed last week. Now, Sotapanna, what do we mean by Sotapanna? Sotapanna is the first level of enlightenment. Second is Sakuddagami, third is Anagami, fourth is Arahat. So Sotapanna means, Sota means Nibbana Marga, Apanna means arrived at. So the Sotapanna person has arrived at the Nibbana Marga. Then Lord Buddha said a Sotapanna person receives 4 Buddha Jnana. He said, Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodhagamini Patipada Jnanam, Ayang Uchati Bhikkhave Sammaditthi. So a Samma Sambuddha has 73 Buddha Jnanas. Buddha Jnanas are special knowledges only a Samma Sambuddha can get. A Sotapanna person will get 3 of them. An Arahat person will get a minimum of 14, maximum of 60, 67, depending on his level of knowledge and the level of paramita. So 4 Buddha Jnanas, Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodhagamini Patipada Jnanam, Ayang Uchyati Bhikkhave Sammaditthi. So Lord Buddha said the person who received these 4 Buddha Jnanas has completed Sammaditthi. Now, what is Sammaditthi? Sammaditthi is the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path. So Sammaditthi means, Sang means Raga, Dvesha, Moha, the 3 poisons. In English, we call them attachment, anger, and ignorance. But I don't like to use those English words because they are slightly misleading. English language does not have words that gives the exact meaning of Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and many other words that Lord Buddha has used in Magadhi language to explain Dhamma. So it's better to learn, in such cases, it's better to learn the Magadhi words and remember the meanings of them. After some time, you get familiar with them, you see. Right. So Sammaditthi, what does Sammaditthi mean? Sam means Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Ma means completely eradicating or completely getting rid of. Ditti means the vision, the path. So Sammaditthi means the vision that helps you to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha completely. So the first one is Sammaditthi. So the Sotapanna person has already completed Sammaditthi. So he has got a vision of how to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha completely. To put it in a simple way, he knows exactly how to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha completely, but he hasn't done that yet. But by the time he becomes Sotapanna, he has already eradicated more than 30%, more than 50% of his Raga, Dvesha, Moha. The easier part he has eradicated, the little difficult part is left there. Believe me, becoming Sotapanna is not difficult. Becoming Arahat is little difficult, but becoming Sotapanna is not difficult at all. It's like passing your university entrance exam. Now when you are studying for your university entrance exam, you study, people study so many hours a day. They spend 6, 7, 10, 12 hours on their studies. You don't have to spend that much. If you learn this Dhamma correctly, if you listen to these 10 Dhamma sermons and remember them and practice the path that I tell you have to spend only 2 hours a day minimum. You will be Sotapanna within 7 months. I can guarantee you that, right? So it's just a question of learning the Dhamma and practicing Dhamma. Everyone can do it. There's no rocket science. It's a simple procedure that you have to follow, and it's common sense. So Samadhi is the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path. And the Sotapanna person has already completed Samadhi, and he knows how to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha. And from that point onwards, he will move forward with Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, finally Samma Samadhi, which is meditation. So he comes to serious meditation last. The way to practice serious meditation, Lord Buddha has dedicated the complete sutra to that, called Maha Satara Satipattana Sutra. And that sutra is relevant to people who have already become Sotapanna. To become Sotapanna, the best sutra is the first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered after attaining Buddhahood, which is the Dhammachaka Sutra. It was the Dhammachaka Sutra that the Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu, the five first disciples, Konanya Bhaddevappa Mahanamassaji, excuse me, after listening to the Dhammachaka Sutra, only they comprehended the Four Noble Truths at the first level and became Sotapanna. These Four Noble Truths, one comprehends at 4 levels. At the first level, basic level, one will become Sotapanna, second level Sakuddhagami, third level Anagami, and finally, the fourth level, Arhat. Then Lord Buddha said the person who has completed Samadhi and become Sotapanna, and that person has eradicated 3 of the 10 bonds that ties us up to the samsara, the cycle of birth and rebirth. Those three bonds are Sakkaya Ditti, Vicikiccha, Silabbata, Paramasa. The remaining 7 are Kamaraga, Patiga, Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Mana, Uddacha, Vidya. Don't worry about them, right? We are only trying to become Sotapanna. It's like we are trying to pass the university entrance exam. So we don't have to worry about bachelor's, master's, and PhD. Don't worry about that yet. Just pass the university entrance exam, you'll be okay. So the main advantage of becoming Sotapanna is that Lord Buddha said, you will never ever go to the 4 hells for the rest of your samsara. 4 hells are the animal kingdom, ghost kingdom, inferior ghost kingdom, and the hell itself, where immense amount of suffering is involved. As a person, as a living being, living in these 31 planes, Lord Buddha said, one would spend more than 90% of one's time in the 4 hells. That's where we have spent most of our time, but we can't remember, right? But if we develop our mind to certain levels through Samma Samadhi, that's meditation, then we'll be able to retrieve information from our memory, which is called Chitta Santana. We'll be able to retrieve information, and then we will remember where we lived in the previous lives. So the main advantage is Lord Buddha has given a guarantee in Ratana Sutra that one will never ever go to the 4 hells again after becoming Sotapanna. In Ratana Sutra, we all know the Ratana Sutra. It's a very famous sutra. And in Ratana Sutra, Lord Buddha says, Sahavasya dasana sampadaya tayassu dhamma jahida bhavanti sakkaya ditti vichikichi kancha silabbatang vapi achachikinchi chatu apaye hicha Jacha babbo katung idampi sange ratanam panitang etena satchena swati hotu. So, sahavasya dasana sampadaya tayasudamma jahida bhavanti. But what it means is a person who has learned Dhamma, comprehended Dhamma, and got a vision of Dhamma, sakkaya ditti vichikichi kancha silabbatang vapi achachikinchi. He has eradicated Sakkaya Ditti, Vichikicha, Silabbata Paramasa. The three bonds, the first three bonds that binds the person to the samsara. Chatu apaye hichavipamatto. Chatu means four, apa means hell. So he's protected from the four hells. That is the main object of a person born as a Buddhist. Lord Buddha said, if you are a Buddhist and your main object in life should be becoming Sotapanna. Other things, of course, we have to do as a person to survive, to earn a living. We have to learn some trade or profession. For that, we have to study. So as a child has to study, pass exams, get qualifications, get a good job, and earn a living. That has to be done. But while doing all that, you should give top priority to becoming Sotapanna. After all, you have 24 hours a day. If you can, all you have to do is spend 2 hours on practicing the path to Sotapanna. You will become Sotapanna within 7 months, I can guarantee you. But you have another 22 hours to do other things. It's just 2 hours, less than 10% of your time, maybe 9% of your time, you will spend on this, which is the most important thing in life. Because only as a human being you can become Sotapanna, nowhere else in this 31 plane. I explained that last week in detail. Since we are born until we die, let's say we live 100 years, very few people live up to 100 now, but let's say we live 100 years. During this 100 years, what we do is accumulate. Firstly, we accumulate people. Secondly, we accumulate knowledge. Thirdly, we accumulate wealth. That's all we do, right? And all those things that we accumulate, okay, we need them to live in the material world to some extent, not in excessive large quantities, but we need resources to buy the basic necessities to live. But we don't have to be multimillionaires to live happily. All those things one accumulates during the 100 years of his lifetime, he or she would lose them within few seconds. At the moment of death, they are all gone. You cannot take them with you. The only thing that you can take with you is if you have become Samadhiti and become Sotapanna, that you can take with you and it will remain with you for the rest of your samsara. So that is why it is very, very important. Otherwise, now in Chutta Sutra, Lord Buddha explained, if you don't become Sotapanna in this life, your next port of call will be the four hells, directly or indirectly. This is how we explained it. I will very briefly explain that. He said, by the time a person dies, if he has attained Arahathood, the fourth level of enlightenment, he will go to the best place, the Nibbana. Nibbana is a permanent place and where there is no suffering. The other 31 places in this world, they are all temporary and they all have suffering to a greater or lesser extent. So, if one has become Arahat, he will go to Nibbana. If one has become Anagami, the third level of enlightenment, he will go to a good Brahmaloka. Lord Buddha said there are 20 Brahmalokas, 4 are good, 16 are bad. So those who become Anagami go to the good Brahmaloka. And who goes to the bad Brahmalokas, those who practice wrong meditation techniques, they go to the bad Brahmalokas, stay there for a long time. And once their merits run out, they'll be left with only sins. In order to pay for the sins, they will go down to the 4 hells. So that's an indirect route to 4 hells. Then those who become Sotapanna and Sakuddagami, Lord Buddha said there are 6 Divya Loka, 2 of them are good and 4 of them are bad. And those who become Sotapanna or Sakuddagami, they will go to the 2 good Divya Lokas, where they have Dhamma and they don't have extreme pleasures or unnecessary suffering. And they will be able to practice their Dhamma path. Those who go to the bad Divya Loka are the people in the human world who have been committing a lot of meritorious deeds and wishing for comforts. So they are engaging in those meritorious deeds, asking for something in return with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and that's what they are going to get. They will go to those 4 bad Divya Lokas, which are like nightclubs, and they have eating and drinking and dancing and whatnot, but there's no Dhamma. So until the merits run out, they will enjoy themselves. And merits are like money in the bank. Once it's finished, then they will be left with only sins. And in order to pay for the sins, they will fall down to the 4 hells. Then the people who have been on the Sotapanna path but not able to become Sotapanna, in the moment of death, if the final thoughts that they get, which is called Chutta Sitta, if they get unwholesome thoughts, they will end up in 4 hells too. And if they get wholesome thoughts, they will get another chance to become a human being and another opportunity to become Sotapanna. And all the others who have not even come to the Dhamma path, more than 99.99999 of them will not have come to the Dhamma path, and all of them will go straight to the 4 hells. And Lord Buddha said, if you go to the 4 hells, it will be several kappas. 1 kappa is trillions and trillions of years. You can't express it in a number. And several kappas it will take him to become a human being again. So make sure this human life that you have got is invaluable. That's why Lord Buddha said, Manusatta patilabo paramadullabo. So it's very, very important. And out of this human life, you got, give priority. Use those 2 hours. Listen to this Dhamma. Practice that Dhamma for 2 hours every day and become Sotapanna. All of you can do it. And if not, it's going to be a sad story. You will go to the 4 hells directly or indirectly, and you may not get another chance to become a human being, maybe in trillions and trillions of years. So remember that very carefully. Now, talking of Dhammachaka Sutra. After attaining Buddhahood, Lord Buddha spent 7 weeks at the Sri Mahabodhi tree, meditating and planning of how to explain this complicated Dhamma, this advanced Dhamma that he rediscovered by himself. And he wanted to work out a way of explaining it in the simplest way that people can understand. So the first sutra that he delivered was Dhammachaka Sutra to the Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu, Konnanja Bhadyavappa Mahanamasaji. The 5 disciples, 5 ascetics who were with him while he was practicing Attakila Matan Yoga, giving unnecessary suffering to the body, and see whether he can discover the truth. At that time, the Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu was with him, and then they left him. Now, after attaining Buddhahood, Lord Buddha wanted to help the people who helped him. First, he looked at Alara Kalama using his divine eye. He looked at the 31 planes, and Alara Kalama was in a bad Brahmaloka. Asanya Tala. Asanya means he can get sanya. He doesn't have eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the body. He only has a mind. He can't hear Dhamma. Then he looked at Uddakarama. He was in a similar place. Then he looked for the Panchavagya Bhikkhu. He saw them. They were in the Isipatanarama Vihara. So he walked up to Isipatanarama from the Sri Mahabodhi, and he delivered the Dhammachaka Sutra to Panchavagya Bhikkhu. And in the sutra itself, it says there are only 5 human beings, the Panchavagya Bhikkhu, who listened to the Dhammachaka Sutra and became Sotapanna. But there were 330 million superior beings from 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka who came to listen to the Dhamma. And out of the 330 million, over 18 million attained Marga Pala, either Sotapanna, Sakuddagami, Anagami, or Arahat. Because some of the Brahmas who came from the Brahmaloka were already Anagami at the 3rd level of enlightenment. By listening to Dhammachaka Sutra, they became Arahat. So this Dhammachaka Sutra is the sutra that is the most important one for everyone to start on. Anyone who is interested in learning correct Buddha Dhamma, comprehending Buddha Dhamma, and becoming Sotapanna and protecting oneself from the 4 hells. That is the objective of being a Buddhist, not just going to the vihara and offering flowers and joss sticks and oil lamps and praying and all that. That is like, the Montessori. Before a child goes to a school, child is sent to a play school called Montessori, where a child is trained for the schooling culture. So that those rituals are the culture. But Lord Buddha never asked anyone to do any of those rituals. Most of these rituals came from other religions. But there's nothing, terribly wrong with it for beginners. But beginners shouldn't be beginners for life, They should do it for, 1 or 2 weeks and then move from there and move into correct Buddha Dhamma, learn Buddha Dhamma and start practicing Buddha Dhamma with the intention, with the ambition of becoming Sotapanna. That should be the ambition, the target of a Buddhist person, to become Sotapanna. For what? To protect oneself from the 4 hells. So let's start on the Dhammachaka Sutra. On the Dhammachaka Sutra, first Lord Buddha says, Pubbe ananusutesu dhammesu, meaning, I am explaining your Dhamma you haven't heard before. Now, this is very, very important. He's saying this, excuse me, to the Panchavagya Bhikkhu. Now, Panchavagya Bhikkhu are not 10-year-old children. They were all over 50. All of them had meditated in the forest for over 25 years. They had mastered over 60 religions and over 30 meditation techniques that existed in India at the time. And they were masters of religions, masters of meditation techniques, but none of them were correct Buddha Dhamma. So they had a lot of knowledge and they were looking for the truth about suffering. Those days, there were a lot of people, a lot of intelligent people, ascetics, who went to the forest meditating, trying to find the truth, what is suffering and how to come out of suffering. Panchavakya Bhikkhu did the same thing. While they were doing it, they met the Bodhisattva Siddhartha, Gautama, and they were with him for some time, then they left. So they were very, very knowledgeable. And to them, Lord Buddha is saying, I'm explaining your Dhamma you haven't heard before. So it's very, very powerful, that statement. And then Lord Buddha said, Once I comprehended this Dhamma, I got Chakkung Udapadi, Jnanang Udapadi, Panya Udapadi, Vijja Udapadi, Aloko Udapadi. Chakkung Udapadi means I got the eye of Dhamma, I got the vision of Dhamma. That means Sotapanna. Then Jnanang Udapadi, I got the knowledge of Dhamma. Panya Udapadi, I got the wisdom of Dhamma. Vijja Udapadi, I got the science of Dhamma. What it means is he understood all the universal laws that governs this universe. Now, what are these universal laws? For example, the sun rises from the east and goes down from the west. That's a universal law. No one can change it. That's the nature. So similarly, more than 80,000 universal laws he discovered. And out of that, mainly he explained, taught 4 universal laws to people that are necessary for them to eradicate their raga, dvesha, moha and eradicate suffering completely by learning the 4 noble truths. So there are just 4 of the 4 of the universal laws that Lord Buddha discovered, but he discovered more than 80,000. Vijja Udapadi, Aloko Udapadi. Aloko Udapadi means he became Aloka from Loka. By Loka, what he meant was the 31 planes where we circulate. Aloka means over the Loka, above the 31 planes, which is the Nibbana, which is the permanent place of happiness. So he said he discovered the way to the Nibbana. Then he says, in order to understand this Dhamma and comprehend this Dhamma, there are 3 things that you have to do first. Firstly, you have to come out of Kama Sukha Likkhana Yoga. Then you have to come out of Atta Kilamatana Yoga. And thirdly, you have to come to Majjhima Patipada. Kama Sukha Likkhana Yoga means living a life of luxury, giving a lot of aswada to your 6 senses. I will explain you what aswada means. You see, there are no words in the English language to explain these Magadhi words, but I will explain to you what it is. It is mentally fabricated pleasure. Aswada is mentally fabricated pleasure. So average human being gives mentally fabricated pleasure to the 6 senses. 6 senses are eyes, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. And we call it enjoyment, luxurious living, whatever the terms that we use in English language. So Lord Buddha said you have to come out of that. Kama Sukha Likkhana Yoga, in other words, living a life of luxury. And you also have to come out of Atta Kilamatana Yoga, the other extreme, giving unnecessary suffering to the body. And you have to come to Majjhima Patipada. Majjhima Patipada does not mean middle path. Most Buddhist books say it's middle path. It's not. What it means is Majji means getting drunk of raga, dvesha, moha. Ma means completely eradicating. Patipada means the pratipada, the path, the way, the system. So Majjhima Patipada is the path or the way that you have to practice in order to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha. Majjhima Patipada. So Lord Buddha said you have to come out of Kama Sukha Likkhana Yoga. You have to stop enjoying luxurious life. You have to stop giving unnecessary suffering to the body. You have to come to the Majjhima Patipada, the path, the way that helps you to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha. Then he said, Majjhima Patipada is the noble eightfold path. Samma Ditti, we mentioned that earlier. Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. I'll be explaining that to you in detail later, the Dhammachaka part of the sutra. Then Lord Buddha says, in order to come to Sammaditi, you have to comprehend the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths, he said, Dukkhang Arya Satchang, Dukkha Nirodho Arya Satchang, Dukkha Nirodha, Dukkhang Arya Satchang, Dukkha Samudayo Arya Satchang, Dukkha Nirodho Arya Satchang, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini, Patipada Arya Satchang. And now in English, what it means is noble truth of suffering, noble truth of the reason for suffering, noble truth of out of suffering, and the noble truth of the way out of suffering. Then Lord Buddha said, if you want to comprehend the Four Noble Truths, firstly, there are four things that you have to do. The four things are Kalyana Mitra Sevana, Sirisad Dharma Stravana, Yoniso Manasikara, and Dhammanudhamma Patipada. Kalyana Mitra Sevana means associating a person who is capable of explaining correct Dhamma to you. Correct Dhamma which will help you to eradicate Raga Desha Moha. That's Kalyana Mitra Sevana. Sirisad Dharma Stravana means listening to the correct Dhamma explained by that Kalyana Mitra. Then Yoniso Manasikara. Yoniso Manasikara is what you have learned already by listening. You have to go through it over and over again using your intelligence and wisdom, analyze it, and try and comprehend it. Try and understand how the entire puzzle fits. Then the final one is Dhammanu Dhamma Patipada. Dhammanu Dhamma Patipada, I explained in 3 gathas at the beginning. Those are the 3 most important gathas that Lord Buddha has explained. Sabbapapasakaranang kusalasya upasampada sachitta pariyodapanang etang buddha anusasana. The same thing he explained in another way. Sabbe sankara anicchati yada panyaya pasyati atanibbindati dukke esamaggo visuddhya. The same thing he explained in another way. Anicca vata sankara uppada vaya dhammino uppajjitva nirujjanti te sang upasamosuko. Sabbapapasakaranam means eradicate all raga, dvesha, moha thoughts, raga, desha, moha deeds, and raga, desha, moha qualities from your mind. There are 3 things. Raga, dvesha, moha thoughts, raga, desha, moha action, and raga, dvesha, moha qualities that you have developed. I will explain these things in detail as we go on. Sabbapapasakaranam. Kusalasya upasampada. Kusal means wholesome. Develop wholesome thoughts, wholesome deeds, and wholesome qualities that you have accumulated throughout your samsara. Sachitta pariyodapana. Through the above process, purify your mind. And purify your mind, and that will help you to develop your wisdom to the highest level. It's this 3 bad qualities, 3 poisons, what Lord Buddha called 3 poisons. Raga, dvesha, moha is the one that's suppressing your wisdom to develop. Once you remove the raga, dvesha, moha, once you start removing raga, dvesha, moha little by little, then your wisdom will start to develop little by little. And once you have eradicated raga, dvesha, moha completely, your wisdom will develop to the highest level. And it is the wisdom that you need to understand Dhamma. So, sabbapapasakaranam kusalasya upasampada sachitta pariyodapanam etang buddha anusasana. That means this is the advice given by every Samma Sambuddha. So that is the summary of the Dhammachaka Sutra that Lord Buddha delivered. In all the Tripitakas, you will find this summary. Now, before I read this old Tripitaka at the British Library, I had read 4 other Tripitakas, 2 in Sinhala and Pali, and 2 in English. The first one is it's called Buddha Jayanti Tripitaka in Sri Lanka, that was constructed for Buddha Jayanti in 1956 by a group of monks appointed by the Sri Lankan government. And that is the main Tripitaka, that official Tripitaka they use in Sri Lanka. Then recently in the 90s, one monk in Sri Lanka with a group of other monks constructed another Tripitaka, but that is highly critical. I mean, monks are highly critical about the contents of that Tripitaka. Then there are two English Tripitaka that I have read. One is the English translation done by Bhikkhu Bodhi, which is a very good translation. And the other one is the Tripitaka that was constructed by a gentleman called Ray Davies and his team. And all those four Tripitakas, you get the Dhammachaka Sutra, 3 to 4 pages, only the summary. But the Tripitaka that they have at the British Library, the Dhammachaka Sutra contains 48 pages. First, it gives a summary, then it gives a detailed explanation of every Dhamma point. So there you are. Obviously, there could be differences when monks or nuns explain the sutra from the other four Tripitakas and from the original Tripitaka. Original Tripitaka is over 2,100 years old and written down by Arhat monks, and the new Tripitakas are less than 100 years old and written by Pruthakjana people. Pruthakjana is people who haven't attained Sammaditi and become Sotapanna. So there will be differences. That's why it is really necessary to learn correct Buddha Dhamma. But don't worry, I'll be explaining the correct Buddha Dhamma during this series of 10 series over 10 weeks. And at the end, I will explain to you how to practice it in practice. Right, I think we have almost completed the time. So I'll stop there and give 2 hours to ask any questions. Please feel free to ask any question up to Sotapanna, right? Don't go beyond that. And it's best that you limit your questions to what we have discussed so far, because these Dhamma discussions, I have prepared in such a way it flows step by step. If you ask questions from what I haven't explained so far, then I'll have to go forward and explain. But even if you do, I will give an answer briefly, and I will give a more detailed answer when we come to that point in the future. So feel free to ask any question up to Sotapanna, Pala, Sotapanna Marga, and that's the path to Sotapanna, Sotapanna Pala.